everybody. Welcome. This is part 2 of implementing people into your scenes in Photoshop. We were working originally from SketchUp. We saved and exported some camera views, actually only one camera view, but you guys are going to do several for class. And so in Photoshop, I am here. I have the first camera scene open and saved, which does not have the cylinders. The second image that I have open is the exported image from SketchUp that does have the cylinders on. And then I have opened up a man that I downloaded from the non-Scandinavia site. And so I'm going to first and foremost walk you through just merging these two camera views. I'm going to take the camera view JPEG image. Once I have it merged into the camera image that does not have cylinders, I am going to change its opacity. And then I'm going to merge this gentleman in there. So literally how I do things is, obviously for the purposes of this video, I have all the files open, so it seems I'm very organized, which is great. But for the most part, immediately with the camera view that I definitely am going to be working with the most, I'm going to double click on the layer in Photoshop that's called background, and I'm just going to name it camera view. It really is the background, but if you keep it named background, it's locked and you won't be able to do much. The image, camera view again, that's a JPEG that has the cylinders on it, I am going to minimize that so that it floats on my screen, and I am going to merge that into my scene. So what do I mean by that? So you can see that I'm highlighted on this image because the layer is back to background. If I highlight the camera view that does not have the cylinders, which is in the background of this image, you can see that it has the layer name camera view. So what I want to do is merge the two, and the best way that I know how to do that, or I think that is the quickest, I should say, you'll be the deciding factor if you think it's best, and we'll talk about it. But literally what I like to do is I'm going to take and basically hold on the left hand side of my mouse right on top of the word background layer. I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to drag it to my original image without the cylinders, and I'm going to release, and you can kind of see in the background two things happen. Now mind you, let me minimize that view. Two things happen in that original camera view. First, I still have the layer name that I made and called camera view, and if I turn off the other one, you're going to see that that does not have cylinders on it. So again, my original camera view. If I turn on in Photoshop, and how I'm turning on and off, I don't want to assume anything. When you're in Photoshop, under layers, under the layer panel, the far left there's a little eye. If you turn off the eye, you turn off that image, turn off that layer. So very easily at any time, once I do have my person in my scene, I can turn this image off and I'll just be looking at the original camera view. However, for this little exercise, I need it on, but I do need to change the opacity of it. Now mind you, I'm going to start off with opacity of just 50%. It looks like that's not much, so I'm going to say like 20. And I'm sorry, I am on the wrong opacity of the wrong layer. You want your camera view, your bottommost layer, to be at 100%. It is the topmost layer, which I just called layer 1, which I'm going to rename cylinders now, so I keep myself organized. So cylinders, I'm going to change this opacity to 50%. Okay, so again, you see the cylinders, but they're not as opaque, and so a little bit easier to manipulate. And eventually, again, I will turn this off the layer, but I need it for the individual. Okay, and then there is the gentleman. So same thing, I'm going to basically float that image so that I can take the layer, and again, notice my cursor is on top of the layer name. I'm going to hold down on the left side of my mouse, and I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to drag it to my original camera view. And I'm going to minimize him because I don't need him. And you can see that clearly he comes in on his own layer. He is huge. That's pretty typical. It's either too huge or too small. It's better to see them larger though, because you can manipulate them a little bit easier. I am going to rename this layer Man with tie. And he is going to stay and remain my topmost layer, because as you guys know a little bit from Photoshop, that the top of the stack of the order in Photoshop means that it is the layer that is above all the other layers. If I move him below, he's going to disappear, because obviously the other two layers, or aka images, are larger and bigger, so I do want to keep him on top. Okay, now I am going to, of course, move him. I'm going to move him to the cylinder to the right. So I'm making a decision that he is going to be located here in, I'm going to call this the foreground. Obviously he is a little large, so I'm going to move him right on top of the cylinder like this. And this is where, don't forget, you can use your arrows if you want to get a little further down. And again, I pretty much should scale him before I get any detailed more than this. So scaling wise, I just go to the pull down edit, and we have transform. And I am truly going to go to scale. And what will happen is a boundary box will be created around him, and I'm going to move to a corner. And I'm going to stretch. Now, mind you, I'm not holding down any other key. I'm not holding down Shift, and because I'm grabbing the corner, he should keep constraint. And again, if I want to kind of finish the scaling, you can hit Enter, and it'll be done. And that doesn't mean that I'm done placing him, but it does mean at least I have him where I want him. So now what I'm doing is I'm kind of centering him within the cylinder. So remember, the cylinder has a diameter of 1'6" and a height of 5'10". And don't get me wrong, he's kind of stepping outside of the circle, but I think that is a-okay. I like what I see. I might get just a little smaller, and again, I might zero in by just zooming in a little bit. Control plus automatically will get you zoomed in a little bit more. If you need, but I kind of like where he's coming from. And again, I'm just using the arrows when I'm nudging like that. I'm just using the arrows on my keyboard, whether I'm on a Mac or a PC. Okay, I like it. So again, if I double click either the magnifying glass or double click the hand tool, we're going to zoom extends the image. I like what I see so much so that if I go ahead to that layer that I just called cylinders, if I turn off the cylinder, he looks proportionately correct. You know, again, I'm not going to lie, I've spent many moons editing height, adjust width to make it right, but I feel he looks pretty good. I could go on and on and on, but for the most part, I probably would go find my next person, bring them in, scale them just the same. Again, if I want, when I'm ready, I don't know if I'm going to add the person here or here. I think I am going to add them in the middle. But I definitely want somebody maybe here, maybe walking. I'm not sure. Anyway, that takes a little bit of maybe time deciding. But once I have it in Photoshop, all I'm going to do is sometimes I do a save as, just so that I keep my original. So save as, and I might say camera view, and I might just add people. So that tells me that I definitely in this Photoshop file added a person or two or three. And if I'm completely done, I've added my people, I've loved the scene, I'm done, I want to basically post to canvas, literally I will go and I will flatten my image, which means I'm going to flatten my layers. Do I want to discard hidden layers? Yes, I do. So I'm going to hit OK. Again, I have this saved as, so I'm not worried. And then literally I'll do a save as again, and I will call this probably a JPEG, or use the file format JPEG. JPEGs, I most of the time use the most. They're small compressed images. So, and in this case, you know, it's assignment 2, camera northwest view. I do have people Sometimes I add a date if I'm finalizing it, but I'm going to save this. And this would be one image that is complete. So I always add progressive just in case anybody's going to add it to their website for uploading and progression, but looks so good. And that is it. Okay, I will see you shortly for class, and we will review and talk, and this will be just hopefully a nice little review video that you can look back on. Thank you very much, you guys. See you soon. Ciao.